Good day, good day, good day. My name is Howard Martell, known as the Home Profit Coach here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. We'll continue on with episode 3 and 4 of our money series, Money 101. How much should you invest from every paycheck is episode 3, and then we'll go right into episode 4. So, how much should I actually invest? In episode 3 of the Money 101, that turns vague advice into clear plans. We walk through why you need to have a clear and actionable plan. Why percentages matter more than dollar amounts. Simple tiers, 5% for starters, 10 or 15% for builders, and 20% for catch up if you're in the later stages of your business or if you are working for a employee or I call it working for somebody else's dream. Real life examples so you can see the long term impact and what to do if you're investing and paying off debt. By the end, you'll have a target percentage for the next 90 days and not just a wish. In episode 4, we're going to be where to put your paycheck investments. I'm ready to invest every paycheck, but where should I go? In episode 4 of Money 101, we'll break down simple investment priority ladders, employer plans with matches, tax advantage accounts like IRAs and Roth IRAs, regular investment accounts and other vehicles, and optional diversifiers you can explore at growth. No hype, no get rich quick, just clear educational guidance so you can stop guessing and start moving. This is financial education, not individual advice, but I will give you the framework you've been missing. So, as we go into the topic for the next one, I think it's crucial that you understand what what we're going to talk about. So, as I said before, we're going to break down this episode in our Money 101 series. And we're going to talk about some things that I utilize and some of the things that you could potentially utilize too in these different episodes. We're going to keep it fun, but we're also going to keep it straight. We're going to show you how you too can be part of a simple system that allows you to be successful in your investing scheme. So as we go forth, just bear with me as I had some technical difficulties. So when we are investing from every paycheck, what you need to understand is every paycheck is there as a tool to help you to grow your business, but understand the importance of paying yourself first. When you're paying yourself first, it allows you to be a successful marketer, but understand that you each time that you get paid, whether it's every 2 weeks or once a month, you need to understand the importance of investing in employer matches, for example, and understand that you have the power to invest in proven streams of income, right? You always got to make sure that your bills are paid, right? But you also need to make sure that you're not living paycheck to paycheck. And what I read yesterday was pretty disturbing on the news. I was going through the news, and it says the average American has saved less than $1,000, less than $1,000, less than $1,000. That's right. That's scary, especially when you need to be able to provide for yourself. And this day and age, when things are costing so much money, you need to understand that there are vehicles out there that the rich have used, right? As I go into this new career of mine, being a living benefits specialist, I'm learning the concept of what it takes to be a successful, not only negotiator, but understand the importance of how to allow your money to work for you. That's right, how to allow your money to work for you. And I don't know what's going on with my system, but it's really perturbing me. So we're gonna try to do this. So one of the things that I did when I was working for my employer, what's up? I don't even know your name, but welcome. It can be the 80/20 rule. Now understand that because the way the markets are too, um, I'm well diversified. I have things like living benefits, which allows me if I get sick, that allows me to be able to borrow against those benefits. And it's a life insurance and death penalty, but it's also a thing that allows you, your dependents, basically, if they're your beneficiaries, if they get sick, it allows them to borrow against it, especially if you are the main breadwinner. So if you get terminal cancer or things like this is where the insurance industry is going towards it. Instead of the rotary phone, they're using for every death benefit, there's about 8 during a lifetime typically because we are a sicker nation here in the United States, compared to other countries, because we have 24/7 this and 24/7 this, and understand that when you have the ability to have something that allows you to um, be very successful in the marketplace, and it allows you to have it tax advantaged, especially in the United States, because we're when you show up to go to your job, if you live in the United States, you're getting taxed at a 50% rate. But if you have, for example, like myself, I have side hustles I've been doing, basically businesses, affiliate marketing, and I have a coaching program that I do. I do these live streams because it's helping me understand what it takes to be successful, but it also allows me to be how can I say it, a person who understands investing, right? And investing is crucial in the business, right? So as we go forth, we want to have a solid plan in place, right? And when you have that solid plan and understand how your money works, you need to be you need to treat your money as it is a part of your family. And when you treat it as part of your family, it allows you to take that stewardship deposits, as I call it, and allows you to be able to manage that which was which was given to you, right? And when you are given that responsibility to take care of your family and to do these things, you need to align with it. The younger you start and you start investing and understand that this is a tool because you work hard for your money. And as I leave a as I left, as you leave, I want you to be encouraged that there are abilities, and this is what the military taught me. Taught me plan A, plan B, plan C. When I did 20 years, 10 days, I didn't think I was going to do 20 years, 10 days, right? And when I go forth and I take those lessons I learned in life I wish I started at 19 when I first came in the military. I was using government EE bonds, for example, in the bank account, right? Or CDs. Then as I graduated into it and understand the knowledge that was provided to me through the reading and through just talking to people who have life experience, I was able to start with mutual funds. And when I was able to start with that, I was able to diversify. I was very aggressive, like aggressive mutual funds, were like small and upcoming companies. Now I'm more as I get into my later 50s. When I retired from my first career at age 39, I had a military pension and then I fought for my military benefits, which is my VA disability, which I'm rated at the highest I can be. So I get that tax deferred. And then I also get a portion of my pension tax deferred from the state of Virginia. And when you have multiple streams of income, you need to know where those streams of income are going to flow into your specific path. Is it there to fund your kids' college? Is it there to provide extra money if you were to pass? Um, and the younger you start at getting these vehicles, if you start before your 30s and stuff, it will help you because you'll use the power of compounding interest, the power of the rule of 72, um, and understand that there are things called index accounts that have been around for a while. And when you have had experience in life, understanding how the rich do it, right? It's been around for 200 years, index funds. And so if you start with like the S&P 500, what it allows you to do is what we call funnels, right? You have a funnel here, say you can get capped at anywhere from 6 to 11% based on the industry standards, right? But if you're able to invest in these tax deferred products, it allows you to allow your money to compound. When the market's up, it goes up. When the market goes down in the funnel system, one of the 7 areas that you'll learn, it will allow you to be able to sustain the storm and not take those huge hits just by being in the stocks and bonds and all this stuff. And when I go and I do these studies, I want people to be encouraged because you can allow your money to work with you. It doesn't matter where you are financially in the thing, but you need to understand that you can control only certain amount. You can't control the market. You can't understand what the market has. And as I have diversified in things in precious metals too, I have seen the ups and downs, but I know that this is something tangible because it's mentioned in the Bible, right? For example. And you can't have emotion in this either. You got to understand if you're long term, that you don't need this money for 20, 30 years, that you need the power of compounding. But here in the Western culture, we want to consistently have emotion with our money attached to it and understand we want it so quick. We want it like, when these sports athletes sign these huge contracts, and understand that when you are seeing patterns of chaos in your life, that's that's not the money talking. That's your head talking to you saying, "Hey, I think we should do this or do that," and vice versa, right? And if you don't understand what it takes to be successful in money management, if you don't have the discipline, see, the discipline I was taught in the military was we were all there to do a specific job. If the president called us up to do something, to whatever it was, is to go to war or whatever, we had raised our hands, said, I will defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic. And I knew that there was a chance that I might not come back to my family, but we had things in place that allows you to be able to understand the concept. So let's go into this. You had a good question about the 80/20 rule. And I don't know what is going on with my system right now, but it's peeing me off because I can't give you great content without the information that I've already written down and have notes on. But that's fine. That's fine. All right, you asked about the 80-20 rule. We're going to go to that. So the 80-20 rule, is known as the Pareto principle, states that roughly 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. It's not an exact formula. It's a principle about imbalance. A small number of inputs often drive the majority of outcomes. Real world examples: business, 80% of revenue often comes from 20% of the customers. Sales, 80% of commissions come from 20% of activities. Productivity, 80% of progress comes from 20% of focused work. And wealth building, 20% of decisions drives 80% of financial growth. Problems, 20% of causes create 80% issues. Why it matters. The 80-20 rule forces you to ask what activities are producing the biggest results, which client tasks or habits actually move the needle, and what should I eliminate that falls into the low impact 80%. High performers don't do more, they do more of the right 20%. Here's a simple application: identify your top performing 20%, double down on it, delegate, automate, or eliminate the low impact 80%. So now let's go here and we're going to apply this to wealth building. So the 80-20 rule, when it applies to wealth building, 20% of the financial decisions will drive 80% of your long-term wealth. Most people focus on small money tweaks. Wealth builders focus on few decisions that compound. Remember, I talked about compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world. The powerful 20%, income growth. Your earning ability has the biggest impact on wealth. Promotion, certification, business ownership, side income. These matter more than skipping coffee. Consistent investing, automatic investing in appreciating assets, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate, or business equity creates exponential growth over time. Also, if you're not having a small portion investing in silver or gold, you're missing out on a huge opportunity because it's in everything that we do across the world, between the AI data centers, between military industrial complex for missiles and technology. It's in cars. So you see why I invest in it, because it is a tangible asset and has been mentioned 300 to 400 times in the Bible. Consistent investing, automatic investing into appreciating assets, index funds, retirement accounts, real estate, or business equity. Asset allocation, where your money is positioned, matters more than trying to perfectly time the market. Tax efficiency, retirement accounts, HSAs, business deductions, keep more of what you earn, accelerates compounding. Avoid major financial mistakes. High interest debt, lifestyle inflation, poor insurance planning, avoiding these protects wealth. The less impactful 80%, obsessing over tiny daily expenses, jumping between trends, trying to get rich quick, and emotional investing. Here's a practical action plan. Ask yourself, what income skill can I grow this year? Am I consistently investing every month? And is my money working for me or sitting idle? What financial risk am I avoiding? Wealth isn't built by doing everything, it's built by doing the right few things consistently. So let's talk about the rule of 72, compound interest and indexed accounts. Example, the S&P 500 and how it so just bear with me. We're going to talk about the next things. The rule of 72 plus compound interest plus the S&P 500 example. The rule of 72. The rule of 72 is a quick formula to estimate how long it would take for your money to double. You take 72 divided by the interest rate, that's years to double. Example, if you earn 8%, then 72 divided by 8 equals 9 years for your money to double, right? At 10%, that's 7.2 years. It's not perfect, but it's very accurate for long-term planning. What is compound interest? Compound interest means you earn interest on your money and then earn interest on your interest. That's where real wealth building happens. Example, you invest $10,000 at 8%. Year one, 10,800. Year two, 11,664. Year 10, 21,589. Year 20, $46,610. The growth accelerates because each year the base is larger. Here's an example of S&P 500 index investment. S&P 500 tracks 500 of the largest U.S. companies. Historically, it has an average over 8 to 10% annually over long-term periods, not guaranteed, but long-term averages. Remember I talked about that funnel? that funnel where the market goes up, you make money. It's capped at a certain point because of the fact that these 500 companies are taking your money and reinvesting it back into their entities. So that's where you have insurance vehicles that allow you to invest in indexed investing. And by the time you're 59 and a half, you can take that money tax free. You're going to pay maybe income tax on it, but who cares? You're still using all that compounding. And how it works. You invest in an index fund that mirrors the S&P 500. Your money is spread across 500 of the major companies. When those companies grow, your investment grows. Dividends are typically reinvested, more compounding. Real example, say you invest $500 a month, and average returns 8%. Times equals 30 years, you would invest 500 times 12 times 30. That's $180,000. You're doing better than most Americans. Like I said, there was a disturbing news article that said most Americans are struggling right now to save $1,000 in retirement. You can't live off $1,000 here in America. You might be able to do that in certain countries, but not here right now. But due to compounding, it could grow around to $745,000. Now, that is a nice nest egg. And you could live off that if you needed to, plus compound. That's the power of time plus consistency. The big takeaway. The rule of 72 shows how fast money doubles. Compound interest builds exponential growth. Index investing like S&P 500 captures broad market growth. Time in the market beats timing the market. So let's go and compare. We're going to go do another comparison. We're going to compare between Index Universal Life and their strategies. So here's a clear and balanced comparison I can use for you. The S&P 500 index versus indexing universal life. The S&P 500 index investing uses funds that track the S&P 500 and how it works. You invest directly in the market through an index fund, through your 401k, IRA, or brokerage. Your money fully participates in market gains. If the market goes up 12%, you get 12%. If it drops 20%, you experience negative 20%, right? But if you're in your 401k and in the true market and the Dow and the stocks and bonds, you can lose that 20 cents. The pros, historically 8 to 10% long-term average, highly liquidity, low cost, especially index ETFs. That's electronic strong long-term growth vehicle. Cons, market volatility, emotional investing risk, no built-in downside protection. Index universal life is a life insurance policy with a cash value growth tied to an index, often the S&P 500, but you are not directly invested in the market. Here's how it works. Your cash value earns interest based on index performance. There's usually a floor, 0%. You don't lose due to market downturn. Remember I talked about that funnel? You turn it on. There's a cap, example, 8 to 12%. Your upside is limited, includes a death benefit, can allow tax advantage loans against the cash value. So you see how index can help you. Pros, downside protection, floor, tax advantage access if structured properly, permanent life insurance, no direct market loss. Cons, cap limits upside, fees and cost of insurance, requires proper funding strategy, not ideal as a short-term vehicle. This is a long-term vehicle. So let's do a simple comparison. If a market averages 8% long-term, you had featured down years negative 20%, S&P 500 0 20%. The IOU floor is 0%, which you didn't lose anything. The up year plus 15%, the S&P funded plus 15%. Cap may be at 10% or 11%, so they keep that additional 5%. But guess what? You're still above everybody else. Taxes, capital gains in S&P 500, IULs, tax advantage loans, insurance, S&P 500 from? No. IULs, yes. Fees, they're very low, and IULs can be higher. Here's a strategic perspective. The S&P 500 investing equals growth engine, best for long-term wealth accumulation with volatility tolerance. The IOU equals protection plus tax strategy tools, best for high earners, estate planning, supplemental retirement income, and risk mitigation strategies. Many advanced strategies are both. Market investing for aggressive growth, IU wealth protection, and tax diversification. Bottom line, if you want a maximum growth potential, direct index investing typically wins long term. If you want a downside protection plus insurance plus tax flexibility, the IOU may play a role when structured properly. I want to explain this further. So what we're going to do breakdown now is going to explain an investment strategy should match your season of life, not just your chase, right? So ages 20 to 40. This is accumulation and growth phase. You have time on your side, high risk tolerance, fewer health concerns, maximum compounding advantage. 20 to 40 without kids, primary focus, aggressive growth, 89% in growth investments like S&P 500 index funds, maximize your Roth IRA and 401ks, build emergency funds, and develop some skills. Now, understand, if you are in your traditional 401k, that's an IOU to the government, and we don't know what our tax bracket's going to be in the near future. The way the United States government is just printing money and just wasting our money, and we're seeing all the money being exposed and all the fraud that is being exposed on the hard earning taxpayers of America. We're tired of it. And this is not a political message. This is the truth message. Understand that I would rather invest in tangible assets as the dollar keeps on dying, and I want to maximize that. I know that the S&P 500 typically does better than the Dow or stocks and bonds because see, people are chasing those emotions. So you build your emergency fund. You at least want to have a few months of emergency if you can, if you're able to do that. Instead of, if you needed to purchase something big or you needed to get a car fixed or whatever, these are expensive things that can happen. Why? It Time and protection. Market volatility matters less than if you have 20 to 30 years. Compounding is your biggest asset. Example, $500 a month at 8% from age 25 to 65 will equal $1.5 million. And the IUL, not usually primary at this stage, unless high income earners seeking tax diversification early and using strategically, not as a placement for investing. And understand, you can start funds at $5 a day and build that for little Timmy. And little Timmy could use that when he reaches his age, whether it's for college, is for housing, and then he can take over that and help fund that with his parents to make that and continue investing and allow the compound interest in everything. High income earners seeking tax diversification early, using it strategically, not as a replacement for investing. 20 to 40 with kids. Now, protection matters more. Balanced strategy. 70 to 80% growth investing. Term life insurance, large coverage, low cost, disability insurance, and college savings plan. This is optional. Why? Your income is your greatest asset. Protect it cheaply, term while investing aggressively. And IUL can make sense if you want permanent coverage, you're maxing retirement accounts, and you want tax-free income strategy later. But for most families in this bracket, growth plus term equals efficient strategy. Now let's go to age 40 to 60. This is your peak income and wealth consolidation phase. Now risk management becomes more important. 40 to 60 with kids, still dependent. You need continued growth, strong protection, college funding planning, retirement catch-up strategy. Suggested mindset: 60 to 75% growth investment, reduce volatility gradually, evaluate permanent insurance options, and tax plan becomes critical. Why? You have less time to recover from market crashes. Sequence it of returns, risk becomes real, and an IUL may not make more sense because you're thinking about tax free retirement income. You want downside protection. You may want legacy planning. 40 to 60 without kids. Now we're talking retirement efficiency and asset protection. Focus shifts on income replacement strategy, tax diversification, and asset preservation. Strategy might include balanced portfolio, 50 to 70% growth depending on tolerance, income focused planning, IUO for tax advantage income, long term care considerations. Why? This is no longer just about growth, it's about reducing tax exposure, reducing market risk, and preserving what you built. Core strategic differences: 20 to 40, growth. Primary engine, optional as IUL role. 20 to 40 with kids, growth protection. Primary investing, IUL role, limited use. 40 to 60 with kids, growth plus risk control. Market investing, balance, IUL role, strategic tool. 40 to 60 with no kids, income plus tax strategy. Moderate investing, and IUL role, stronger role. Big picture: young equals time plus aggression. Midlife equals balance plus tax planning. Later years, protection plus efficiency. The smartest plans don't pick one vehicle, they build a financial ecosystem: market growth, insurance protection, tax diversification, and risk management, if you like. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know I was going ranting a little bit. Pipe dream, really, dog? It's not a dream. I'm a business owner too. and I have multiple streams of income. And I changed a 30-year career in cybersecurity because my job was let go, right? Not because it wasn't needed, it's because the government cut back. So all I do is ramp up my businesses. And as I continue to study for my state license here in Virginia, I will be a professional life benefit specialist, helping not only my military, but the middle class understand their money. They got to understand how to utilize money. I follow people like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Richard Duncan, Jim Rickards. Look them up on the internet. I follow economists that are a lot smarter than I am, but I read their books, I absorb it, and then I apply those principles, and then I get with the right type of person. Yes, I have living benefits. I have tax deferred annuities. But that's because I understood at a younger age and later on as I progressed that my body is beat up, but I also have multiple streams of income. What market to invest in? That's up to you. Talk to a professional advisor. Each person is going to tell you about certain things. Now, understand, I use a company. We've been with them for a while. We sit down with them and we adjust to the market, and they are former military. He did 38 years. He is one of my mentors because he's been in this industry for 15 years, but he didn't come from money. He was broke when he got out after 38 years. Why? Because he was chasing a pipe dream and understood he was trying to keep up with the Joneses, but the Joneses aren't there. You need to understand that you need to value those stewardship dollars and understand, yes, the S&P 500 has the best 500 companies. And see, I'd rather and what I did, I rolled over my 401k. It might take a few weeks for them to cut me a check, and then I'm going to drive that check to my people that I'm working with, and I'm going to allow that money to sit there and double, triple potentially. I'm doing the same thing with my wife's thing. It's because I am allowing the money to grow in tax deferred vehicles. As I screech towards age 53, yes, my body's beat up because my military service, but my mind is so sharp because I study these things. I see what's going on with the dollar and how it's crumbling. That's why I started to invest in precious metals with KEPM.com, where I've got over 2,300 ounces of silver that is sitting. That's a smart investment. I started that 5 years ago. It's above almost 200% increase. You can't get 200% increase, but in index funds, you can at the specific ones. But you have to talk to a certified financial person that specializes in this. And that's what I'll be doing. I am understanding the concepts now as a client, but then when I we use an education approach to what investing is about, and they're all 50 states. And I will share that information with you. So just bear with me. I'm going to put this on the screen. Now, there's different ones out there. So that's up to you. That's up to you to talk to somebody about that. I can't tell you what to invest in, but I can tell you that we trust that company right there. Why? Because they're one of the largest companies and they use people like myself who are clients who want to not only help their communities, but we use an education approach. And that education approach allows us, that is to a presentation that is going to be online. So when you reserve it, if you're in the United States, we're in all 50 states. And I love it because I get to understand what my specialist is going over when they sit down at my table in my house to go over every year. We have adapted strategy and we follow their strategy because they're former military. He's an officer. I was enlisted. So I follow their path and I trust them because they're very successful. And that's my goal is to be very successful in this third leg. Yes, I've been successful in being a business owner, affiliate marketing, coaching, but because I took a large pay cut to stop working, not by choice, but because I want to do something different, I have that ability because I sleep good at night, knowing that I'm investing in these financial instruments and they are tax deferred. Why? Because I understand how money works. It's a fungible, tangible asset. But when we have abused that privilege of being the reserve currency in 1973, when I was born, I don't remember this, but Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. You can look it up. And then we became a creditor nation. See, I follow history, and silver has a huge upside. Now, the S&P 500 is a record breaking thing. So when I start investing money into something, I'm long term, but I have to have a strategic strategy. Each person's strategy is, what is your number? I don't know what your number is, but what I understand is how to invest every paycheck into it and understand that that can be compounded with the power of compound interest. That's Einstein's eighth wonder of the world. It's a great thing. You're allowing your money to grow and to flourish. And when you don't allow your money to grow and flourish, that's when chaos comes in because you attach emotion to it. There's lots of countries overseas that are part of the market, right? And they are doing better in accelerating their catching up to the American way. See, people don't understand that the dollar, if the United States fails, the world goes with it because we are the reserve currency. But with astronomical debt going on and with Medicare, Medicaid, and being a sick nation, why do you think that we're trying to get all these bad things out of the system? See, we're living longer, but we are also there's high rate of diabetes, heart disease. I mean, think about it. All the garbage that's in the food, if you're not putting the right energy into your body. See, I've learned this that the pills that you take are not there to help you, it's there to make you sicker. You need to understand there are natural remedies out there, just like there's remedies for your money. Do what the rich do, they protect their assets. People like Robert Kiyosaki, his story is incredible too. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, great book to read. Understand we are coming out of a global recession. A few years back, the entire world was shut down and we were printing money, and that's why inflation is so bad in the United States. Now it's coming down in certain sectors, but understand now the federal government is now having the states funding most of these things because they see how that tax-paying money cannot be utilized in a honorable and ethical way. I can tell you that there's examples out there. If you, for example, you had James Vanderbeek, for example, passed away from colorectal cancer. He was almost broke because of medical costs. But if he had a living benefits plan with a reputable agent or specialist, his family would be taken care of. But he didn't know any better because he thought he was going to, he didn't earn that much residuals from Dawson Creek and these other movies that he did. And the money was taken like that. Do you want that to happen for your family? That's where the living benefits is one of the greatest investment vehicles that you can invest in to your family's not only legacy, but helping so you don't become bankrupt because of the medical bills. The medical bills will get you. And you're going to have an average of maybe 5 to 6 chronic illnesses. So for every death benefit, there's 8 living benefit claims over a lifetime. And what you're doing is if you do die, they get that the living benefit goes away and you get that money for your family to be able to sustain themselves in that specific lifestyle they're living in. So understand, if you want more information, if you're in the 50 states, go to there. It's a great tool. Subscribe. That's it. Subscribe to the channel if you feel and like that this is good information. I'm trying my best to provide you information as information changes. I try to give you the best advice I can. First, invest in yourself. Start young. If you can start putting money away for your retirement and your kids, it'll be great because your college could be paid for. I can tell you another reason college was paid for me. I graduated with my associates in 2022 from a local community college, paid for through my military benefits. And I graduated in 2025 with a cybersecurity degree. So I'm a cyber guy, but I'm also a person that understands money and is learning every single day, just like each and every one of you. And it's crucial. You need to understand you got to protect the wealth that you work hard for because you get taxed at a 50% clip in the United States. Now, if you have a home based business like me, I still get taxed, but now since I'm not working for somebody else dreaming, I'm being my own boss and taking care of my own health and making my own schedule as a life benefit specialist as I take my life insurance and annuities exam in the 27th of February. I'm studying for it. That's my job. Then I still have multiple streams of income coming in. I still qualify for unemployment because of the fact that I can make up to a certain amount of money and it just deducted from that. And I got a severance, and I got my last 2 paychecks with my paid time off. Now, this is fun for me. And if you understand how money works, that will benefit you and your family. And there's so many people out there that can help you. I'm not this supposed expert. I'm just a person that has lived life and understands that I've been to third world countries and I don't want to have America become a third world country. But because kids are not educated about money, and we're trying to get that into the school system, they need to know how compound interest works, how money works. It's just not like an invisible tree that comes off when they pick money and here's your $200 sneaker. See, that $200 sneaker, unless you're selling it, is a liability. Your mortgage can be a liability because if you miss one payment, the bank could own it and then you're out on the street. Do you want that? I don't want that. But if you're renting a room out to a traveling nurse, see, that's an asset because you're able to write that off and understand you do what the rich do. They take other people's money and they invest it, and then they get the tax benefits because they provide a tangible product, whether it's a place for people to lay their heads, by providing a home for a person that they're paying that mortgage on your behalf by paying that rent. And until people understand that just because you go to college, you're not going to make six figures, they value experience. That's why I believe in America, most people should go into the military Peace Corps and at least do 2 years. Why? Because then the government can invest in you because you have benefits that come out that allows you to get a technical degree if you want to, a license if you want to, or start your own home-based business and be like a franchise. See, that's what the military teaches us. And I think I've seen it in Israel. They have men and women that serve. They have to serve in the Israeli Defense Force. And I've seen it when I traveled to Haifa, Israel. So, in closing, if you like this, please like, share, comment below. I'd love to be able to get more feedback from you. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Stay safe and allow your money to work with you. How much you should invest from every paycheck is different for each individual. Take care.